to assess Thibodeau's fit with their scheme, or is he one of those players that it doesn't matter what the scheme is? He's that good, he should fit in anywhere.
Yeah, pass rushers like Thibodeau, when you get an opportunity to get a Hutchinson Thibodeau, you take it. That's what it's all about now, is getting after the quarterback and also covering on the back end. So that cornerback, those safeties as well that can cover, critical as well. I think when you look at Kayvon Thibodeau with the Detroit Lions, now we don't know how much longer Aaron Rodgers is going to be in this division. He's going to be there, obviously, finishing out this season. Next year, we'll see. They're in the playoffs. They hope to get to a Super Bowl. That was my pick back in August to win the Super Bowl. We'll see if Aaron can get the Super Bowl #2 and win it like he did when he got there earlier. But I think you look at the pass rushers like Thibodeau, like I said, drawing comparisons to Garrett. I think that's a stretch right now. He's not going to end up with as high a grade as Myles Garrett had. Jadeveon Clowney went #1 overall, but Thibodeau will be right behind Hutchinson. And certainly for the Lions, he's what they need. He's what everybody has to have. So when you get that opportunity, you take it. And keep in mind, they pick in the late first round as well, and a pick from the Rams. Could they look at a quarterback at that point? Are you sold on Jared Goff being the guy moving forward? If you want to bring in a young quarterback, the opportunity, I think, Field will present itself late in round 1 on that second first-round pick to get maybe Sam Howell, quarterback from North Carolina, to get maybe a Matt Corral, quarterback, Ole Miss. I think somebody at that point, and Howell, I think, could be the guy. If he's there, of course, he lost his 2 top running backs going into this year, lost his 2 top receivers, yet he was out there battling. And this is a kid that I thought, I think deserves to be in the first-round discussion. Certainly not in the top 10, but when you get into that 20 to 32 range and where the Lions are picking, that would be a choice that I think would have to be looked at that as maybe the quarterback, to get the guy who can elevate that position and give you a guy that maybe.
So that's Mel Kiper earlier today talking about, what the Lions should do with that #2 pick and with their second pick. He believes that the Lions will take Kayvon Thibodeau, #2 overall, and then come back and grab Sam Howell or Matt Corral, quarterback, with that second pick. He believes that once you have an opportunity to get Thibodeau or Hutchinson, you cannot miss. You cannot pass it up. Do you guys want to play what Kiper says about Hutchinson?
Sure.
You good with?
Let me just.
Sure.
I can just say something real quick just about Sam Howell, because he talked about Sam Howell.
Yes.
And Maz and I talked about it a little bit before the show. I don't care if they go Thibodeau or Hutchinson. We can get in that, and we will. But as it relates to describing the description of Sam Howell, if I'm taking a quarterback in the first round, right? That means I need a quarterback. I'm picking somebody that I want to be the starting quarterback by his second season or halfway through his first. Somewhere, in the near future, I want this guy to be the quarterback. This isn't the description of a quarterback that I will accept, that I'm supposed to take. The guy lost his 2 receivers the year before. He lost his 2 running backs the year before. The guy is gritty. He's a big guy. He's very physical. He doesn't go down. It sounds like you're describing a running back. Sounds like you're describing a tight end. Sounds like you're describing, that's not the description of a player at quarterback that I'm trying to draft in the first round. It's not what I'm going with.
Let me just say this about Sam Howell, and I've watched him play this year, not so much last year. So I've seen him play this year. He's a talented guy. Sam Howell, when you describe Sam Howell to me, 6'1", 220. You know who also is 6'1", 210?
Running back.
Baker Mayfield. You're describing.
Is Baker 6'1"?
You're describing Baker Mayfield to me, and I don't want Baker Mayfield anywhere near my NFL football franchise. I don't want that.
Not to mention, at least Baker won the Heisman. Because what I'm going to say is this. There's one intangible that a quarterback in the first round, a quarterback you drive, he just has to have. If you're a smart individual, a smart GM, a smart president, smart head coach, he has to have those too, man. But he's got to be a winner. He has to have won. When you draft a quarterback that's won, that is part of the biggest problem at quarterback. You got a guy that can win. Russell Wilson has a Super Bowl win. What does Russell Wilson also have? Oh, by the way, he beat Ohio State and won the Big Ten championship. Insert quarterback that's won the Super Bowl here or that is often in the playoffs. He's won at college. He's won at high school. Sam Howell hasn't won at UNC. I'm not drafting a guy that doesn't know how to win.
Mel Kiper also touched on Aiden Hutchinson, believes he will be the first player taken in the NFL draft and go to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and compared Aiden Hutchinson to those guys we talk about a lot, the Bosa brothers. Here's that audio.
if you were the Jacksonville Jaguars, knowing what you know right now, before free agency, before they've made a head coaching hire, and all the variables that will be determined at some point, who do you have your eyes on for them with the first overall pick in the draft?
I think Aiden Hutchinson, the defensive end from Michigan. I think the body of work, the production, that Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa mentality in the Big Ten. The Bosa's played at Ohio State, obviously Aiden at Michigan. Key what the Wolverines and Jim Harbaugh were able to do this year. That's all about the intensity, the consistency, being disruptive against the pass, getting after the quarterback, in the run game as well, being a great leader, setting a great tone for that defense. That guy that's kind of the tone setter for what that defense was able to accomplish. David Ojabo on the other side really came into his own. We'll be talking about him in this mock 1.0 in that maybe 10 to 15 range. But I think when you look at Aiden Hutchinson, he gives you that, hey, I'm coming to work. I'm that guy that's going to show up every day, every game, and give you a similar performance level. People will talk about the Georgia game. Stetson Bennett got the ball out quick. They knew what they had to do in that game. They couldn't let Ojabo and Hutchinson wreck that game, and they were able to game plan to make sure they didn't. Okay, just like Bill Belichick game plan to make sure Myles Garrett didn't wreck that Browns-Patriot game. So I think when you look at Aiden Hutchinson, I give him the slight edge there over Kayvon Thibodeau, defensive end from Oregon, who I would put in that second spot overall right now to the Detroit Lions. So the number 1 pick, defensive end Hutchinson, number 2 pick, defensive end Kayvon Thibodeau.
You know, Mel,
if we want to talk about just his dominance this year, especially the second half of the season when it really mattered, then definitely I agree with that. I agree with the things that he was able to do against Ohio State, the things that he did against Penn State, Michigan State, Iowa, like all of that in which he did. I agree with Mel Kiper in terms of the dominance, the level at which he played. If you want to make him number 1 because of that, then go ahead. Don't compare him to the Bosas. And don't compare him to the Bosas. The only thing they have in common is they played in the Big Ten. All 3 of them are white. They're about the same damn size, and they play the same position. Don't compare him to the Bosas, and this is why. When they came in as freshmen, they were electric. You felt it already. He grew into being Aiden Hutchinson, okay? He grew into it. Here's another thing. When they played in big games and big moments, talking about the Bosas, in terms of that speed level where it transitioned, an SEC game or an ACC game, when they're playing against those talented guys, the Clemsons, when Deshaun Watson and that great offensive line was there, or playing against Alabama, playing against those, they still balled out. Like when Aiden had a chance to go against Georgia, like this is your chance, because let me give you a piece of advice. Every team in the NFL is going to be like Georgia. For the most part, every team is going to be like Georgia. They're professionals. They have the offensive line from Georgia, the offensive line from Auburn, an insert team here. So if that's what you're going to show against those guys, like he disappeared fully against Georgia. He completely disappeared. You didn't see that out of those other guys. So there's where I have pause for concern, is the disappearance when you play a team like Georgia. Because newsflash, 6'6", 269, you're going to have to be able to move sideways and vertical going into the NFL. And if you can't get it done against a team like Georgia, that's pause for concern. And that's why I can see somebody hesitate on taking him number 1 overall.
Yeah, I mean, look, you take the best player on the board available to you. Right. I mean, whether that's Evan Neal, Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, is this the year to have the number 1 pick? I think we all agree no. But if you need an edge rusher, and you have to decide, but if you can't trade out of the pick, and if you're not going to go to the offensive line, there's no quarterback to take. You don't need a quarterback if you're Jacksonville. You just have to decide Hutchinson or Thibodeau. And I don't know that. I would go Hutchinson just because I see Hutchinson. And I don't. I mean, it's like it's even dumb.
It's called a crapshoot.
It's a crapshoot. You know, I mean.
Hey, you asked the question coming in. Who are they going to take at 1? Who are they going to take with their second pick? He likes Matt Corral or Matt Corral, whatever how do you pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
We all said it. If you're going to grab your quarterback, and I think you should, you better get it now on your late pick in the second round. You know why? There's a ton of wide receivers that are going to be available on that second round when you're picking second. You'll get your wide receiver in the second round. I'm going to take best defensive player, and I'm going to take my quarterback. That's what I'm doing as the Lions, because you're not going to pick in the top 10 again going forward. Fingers crossed.
Hold that thought. 30 seconds.
I agree with Maz. I'm just so leery. I mean, we can
30 seconds.
You got to take a chance here, bro.
Ermanni and Edwards.
Woodward Sports Network, the bottom line. You've reached the end of the video. You know what you should do? Press like. You know you like the content that we have here at Woodward Sports Network. I'm Braylon Edwards from the bottom line. Subscribe to us right now.